Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa and Internet World. How are we doing today on a wonderful Wednesday? Happy Hump Day, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great day. It's beautiful out here in Tuscaloosa. I hope it's beautiful wherever you guys are listening to the program. Welcome into the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. I'm Joe Gaither. Obviously, you can follow me at Joe Gaither6 on the Twitter machine, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter live right there on our social medias. Of course, you can always watch it on playback on YouTube, on BamaCentral's YouTube channel, and then you can also listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Excuse me, I always say Apple Music, but it's Apple Podcasts and Amazon as well. A lot of our listeners coming from the Apple Podcast side of things, so I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening to the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral. All right, we're gonna have a fun show today. I really hope to keep the momentum rolling. Oh, I understand that it's the worst week in sports. It's the slowest week in the summer. It's goodness gracious. Like, you had Major League Baseball All-Star Game on last night, and congratulations, the National League winning the All-Star Game. I think, first time in 10, 12 years, something like that, that the National League has won. But look, I'm not a huge Major League Baseball fan. You had the ESPYs on last night, but I didn't. Look, who cares about who the ESPN awards go to? This is the slowest time in sports. But we are about to ramp back up. The Major League Baseball All-Star break will end fairly soon. And next week is SEC Media Day. So there's still a lot going on. You just got to get through this real week, the second week of July, always, really from 4th of July till that second week of July. Very, very slow time in sports. So I appreciate everybody jumping in and joining me today. What are we going to talk about? First, we're going to talk about two recruits who committed to Alabama on Sunday that we skipped over, really. One, I was distracted Monday, obviously, because we had Julian Sayin on the program. If you missed Julian Sayin, go ahead and tune in any of the playback, Spotify, Apple Music, or watch it on YouTube. You can see Julian Sayin and I's conversation right there on Bama Central's YouTube page. So Monday, I kind of washed over the commits that happened on Sunday. And then yesterday, when I was doing weekend review, I was taking all my notes and then didn't even hit it. Didn't even go over it. I was when I finished the show, I was 30 minutes after the show. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even talk about the two recruits that Alabama got committed. Really three on Sunday, but I'm just going to talk about two because two came from the 2024 class. We're going to put off Zakai Hilton from the 2026 class. So I'm going to talk about the two commits from Sunday, Zabien Brown and Justin Okoronkwo. I'm going to talk about Brandon Miller's strong game last night. Brandon Miller having his best performance in Summer League last night. Yes, the Charlotte Hornets still lost because they stink, but Brandon Miller looked a lot more comfortable. It looks a lot like Brandon Miller last night on the court, so we'll talk about that as well. A little just a drama in the SEC as you're kind of stirring up on the social media side. Florida, a lot of the Florida fans are upset, unhappy with On3 Sports. As On3 Sports, we hit it on Monday. On3 Sports put out their re-rankings. Alabama benefiting with Julian Sayin being re-ranked as the number one overall quarterback in the 2024 class. But On3 Sports periodically does re-ranking, and the Florida Gators, the Florida fans are livid, are upset, are unhappy with On3 Sports because a lot of their recruits got knocked down a peg here or there. We're going to talk about that, the drama as well. And then Alabama is going to be in the mix for one more player tonight, or one more commitment tonight. So it's going to be kind of a heavy recruiting show today, as we've kind of fallen into our niche right here at BamaCentral.com. We really appreciate Chris Walsh for putting us on. Make sure you guys are reading all of our work at BamaCentral.com. You can check out right now a piece that Blake Byler put out right there on the cover. Mr. Sam Walters coming in to Alabama basketball's program. And I know our friends at Blue Collar Unplugged just put out a new podcast, 2 days ago, yesterday. So you can hear those guys talk about Muhammad Waikiki and Sam Walters and all kinds of other basketball-related things, everything Bama related right there on BamaCentral.com, the Sports Illustrated home for the Alabama Crimson Tide. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into a little bit of interesting recruiting, the two commits that Alabama got over the weekend, Justin Okoronkwo and Zabien Brown. Now, Zabien Brown, a lot more people more familiar. Let's start with Zabien Brown, and then we'll talk about Justin Okoronkwo. Zabien Brown became Alabama's third cornerback to commit to commit in the 2024 class. So Alabama's basically going to be done with corners for the rest of the class, unless someone decommits. I anticipate Alabama to say these are our three guys. You got Jalen Mbakwe, Jameer Grimsley, and now Zabien Brown. So these are the three guys that are going to make up the 2024 class. And let's just talk about it. First, Zabien Brown is rated by 24/7 Sports, by the people who kind of run things, as the sixth best recruit in the state of California, rated the number 57th best recruit overall in the class, and rated the sixth best corner in the class. So he's highly rated, he's highly respected, a top 60 recruit in the nation, top 10 corner in the class. And so you love to see that. You obviously look at his other offers, and you see Alabama, Ohio State, and USC made his final three. He ended up choosing Alabama on Sunday. Great choice for you, Zabien Brown. We know Alabama started to get a little bit of a reputation with the Mater Dei Monarchs over there. Thank you so much, Bryce Young. Bryce Young with the Mater Dei Monarchs, Tommy Brown, and Eli Ricks. Obviously, Eli Ricks went to LSU first before transferring to Alabama. But look, those three guys in recent memory, Tommy Brown, Bryce Young, and Eli Ricks, all coming from Mater Dei High School, Zabien Brown's high school. Zabien Brown, look, if you're not familiar with California football, that's okay. Mater Dei is the cream of the crop. They are up there at the upper echelon. They're operating probably top 5 program in the state. They ended up going 12-1 last season. Zabien Brown earned a starting job as a sophomore. Now last year he was a junior. As a junior, 36 tackles, 3 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Now, Zabien Brown basically got into the starting role as a sophomore and really kind of asserted himself as a junior. What do I see when I look at him on film, and why did Nick Saban like him? Nick Saban likes him. Well, first, he's 6'1", 180, and I know Alabama fans are like, that's not the measurables that I want to hear. I'm with you. It's not the measurables that I want to hear. But he doesn't really, I mean, he obviously plays at 6'1", 180, but he doesn't really, I don't really think that the size becomes an issue. I look at you put on his tape and you put on his film, and you can see a lot of great attributes. Yes, undersized corner, but he plays like it. Let's see. Lateral quickness and agility. Okay, I took several notes looking at his film. Lateral quickness and agility, ball skills, finds the ball in the air very well, physical tackler, and fighter were the notes that I wrote when I was looking at Zabien Brown. I see Zabien Brown, look, he got beat a couple of different times on film, but his recovery was incredible. He was all full go in the entire film session that I was able to watch. He was full bore, 100% all out, balls to the wall, playing his tail off. Now, I think he has nice lateral quickness. A couple of double moves got put on him during this film, and he was able to stick right with the receiver. Very good man-to-man coverage skills as a high schooler. So obviously that's got to translate to the college game. But Zabien Brown was playing through the receiver's hands many times on pretty much all his pass breakups, playing through the receiver's hands, not afraid to mix it up. Maybe a couple times got a little early in on the ball, and he'll obviously work on that going into play for the Mater Dei Monarchs for one more season. But Zabien Brown, look, I think is gonna be a guy that Nick Saban sees the attitude, sees the fighter in him. He obviously undersized. We hit that already, but I think he performed very well in run support. Like I said, 36 tackles. He performed he had great play recognition. I think he just looked like a guy who maybe knows, okay, the physical abilities, the physical tools are not necessarily there. The effort jumped out on film as I'm watching Zabien Brown, always just going hard. A couple of times got caught with his eyes in the backfield, but was able to just turn and run and recover. We had Kendall Hollowell on, 2 or 3 weeks ago, talking about defensive back play. Zabien Brown really exemplified, oh my gosh, if I'm beat, just turn and run, find the ball, eye contact with the receiver, and fight through the hands. He did a great job with that. Now, Nick Saban will, oh my gosh, I just got a little internet bump. I hope that my internet is going okay. Let me turn the internet off on my phone. There we go. So that the computer isn't sucking it, isn't Oh, I hope the broadcast isn't going modulated because my internet warning just hit me. So look, Zabien Brown, I think is going to make for a fine corner now. You're not gonna get many more inches out of him. As a senior in high school, maybe he might grow another inch. He might grow another 2 inches. But you are going to be operating with an undersized corner. But that's not always a bad thing. Now you're not every corner is obviously going to be Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I think Zabien Brown's going to present an attitude and edge to this class, and I think that really the three guys, Jameer Grimsley, Jalen Mbakwe, and Zabien Brown really put together a nice cornerback class. Now, look, if a five-star pops up, if somebody wants to flip, an elite prospect wants to flip, Nick Saban will probably make room. But it's my prediction that Alabama is done pursuing cornerbacks with three corners already in the class. So Zabien Brown commits. He committed about 4 o'clock on Sunday. What happened right after I got out of church on Sunday was a little bit more surprising. I'm very happy to have this surprise. On Saturday night, let's back up to Saturday night. Saturday night, Justin Okoronkwo publicly decommitted from the University of Maryland. He was committed to the Maryland Terrapins with our buddy Mike Loxley, but on Saturday night opted to decommit from Maryland. And we obviously see why on Sunday. On Sunday, about 12:30, I'm getting out of church, get the alert. Justin Okoronkwo commits to the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I think people are like, okay, who's this guy? What's his story? 3-star linebacker. I don't like that. Well, let's dig a little deeper. Justin Okoronkwo, 6'3", 6'4", 225 pounds, reportedly, thanks to our friends at On3 Sports, reportedly running a 4.35 40. Huh. Fast. Okay, what do we know about this young man? He's German. He plays for the Nuremberg Rams. And right outside of Munich. Look, I'm not a German map expert, so he's right there outside of Munich playing for the Nuremberg Rams. He's only been playing football for 3 seasons. And he's right at 19 years old. Only been playing for 3 seasons. Gets kind of hooked up with PPI Recruits, an international scouting service run by Brandon Collier. And hopefully, I would love to have Brandon Collier on. But really, Justin Okoronkwo, I think Alabama is getting a superstar. You see 3 stars on the 24/7 Sports, on the On3 Sports, on the Rivals accounts. You see 3 stars listed on them, but I think that's a foolish ranking. I think, okay, you got to back up. One, I have a little crimson-colored glasses because he's already coming into Alabama, but I think that this young man has a lot of ability. His raw skills, his raw talent makes me, oh my gosh, salivate. Okay, so we hit the German aspect. What positions did I see him play on film? He recently put out some film from the last 5 or 6 games that he played this previous season, and this man is all over the field. Yes, I think Alabama is recruiting him as a linebacker, but this man is all over the field. And I'm not kidding. He's playing linebacker. He's playing inside linebacker. He's playing outside linebacker. He's playing kick returner. He's returning punts. He's running down on the kickoff team. He's covering punts. He even took some snaps at quarterback, taking the snaps under center, and he's even taking snaps at wide receiver. My man is doing it all. Justin Okoronkwo at 6'3", 225 pounds. Really, when I put on his film, I'm sitting here reminded of, okay, if I were a high school coach, I would be using my best athlete everywhere on the field. You remember we had Ronnie Cottrell on a handful of weeks ago, and we appreciate Ronnie Cottrell from Mobile Christian High School. He came on talking about Deontay Lawson and Sterling Dixon. Deontay Lawson already on the Alabama roster, and he said when Deontay was on my team, I used him on offense, on defense. If the game was on the line, I wanted Deontay Lawson involved in the play. Well, I don't know this German coach, and hopefully we can get in contact with Justin Okoronkwo and pull him in for an interview. That'd be amazing. But it seemed like the German coach who followed the same philosophy, put the best athlete right in the middle of the play for every key moment. Justin Okoronkwo, he was able to run back some kick, get huge yardage on special teams, and really was probably one of the bigger players on the field, was one of the bigger players out there on that German field. Now, that's where you wonder. That's where you wonder about the 3 stars, if that ranking is right, because the competition on the other side, look,
It's not Alabama high school football. It's not Georgia high school football, California high school football. It's German kids trying to learn the game. And everybody's obviously at a different level developing and learning the game over in Germany, but we can we can be playing and be honest and saying it's not the same as Georgia high school, California high school, Texas high school football, even Alabama high school football. So you don't know if he's playing against a bunch of scrubs, but what you do see on film is a hugely physical player running at full speed, bowling guys over, making huge tackles. He looked like Reuben Foster making a lot of tackles out there. Now, granted, I want to back us up. I want to back us all up and remind us we're playing against inexperienced German kids. I mean, look, this is no disrespect to Germany. I want to be respectful of all cultures and everywhere. But American football is a little bit newer, catching on. I mean, it's popular in Germany. It's popular, but it's not like soccer. It's not like international basketball. It's catching on. It's not like rugby, but so you don't necessarily have the high skill set that you might have over in Alabama and Georgia and California, Texas, this, that, and the other. But here we go. Like, Nick Saban, this guy's already been to camp. Justin Okoronkwo has come to Tuscaloosa 2 different times already, camping at several different colleges last year, and then also camping at several different colleges this year before receiving the Alabama offer and committing to the Crimson Tide. Coach Saban knows what he's doing. Coach Saban can see talent. Now, yeah, what's on tape is like, okay, I wonder if you're playing against bums like Joe, or if you're really playing against future college players, what you can really do. But Justin Okoronkwo has impressed Coach Saban enough to give him that scholarship opportunity. At 6'3", 225 pounds, I anticipate him assimilating very well into the Alabama weight room, into the Alabama strength and conditioning program. He looked like a high-level football player on the film that I saw. Now, I want to address just some comments, just some stupid social media comments that we saw, and I've seen this now for 2 straight seasons. Last year, let's back up. Last year, Alabama signs and gets committed and signs Olausalainen. Olausalainen from Finland, offensive lineman from Finland. Now he's a true freshman. Olausalainen moved from Finland to upstate Connecticut, I believe, to kind of assimilate to the American culture, get used to life over here, play American football more. His father was an NFL Europe player, and he got him into football. But Olausalainen moved from Finland to Connecticut, right? And then obviously comes to Alabama. And you're seeing last year when he commits, oh my gosh, Nick Saban can't go get an American. Why can't we fill this scholarship spot with an American? Now look, America, yay, roll tide, God bless America, absolutely. But what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because we saw the same comments. I sure wish Coach Saban would have used this scholarship on an American. I sure wish he could have found an Alabama boy to use this scholarship on. Justin Okoronkwo is going to be a talented football player. And look, don't you all want Nick Saban to bring in the 25 most talented football players that he can find each recruiting class? Don't you want to have the most talented 85-man roster that you can have? Who cares if they're from Timbuktu, if they're from USA, Alabama, Canada, Mars? It doesn't matter. Once they come to Alabama, they become Crimson Tide. They become members of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, look, Coach Saban's done this over sprinkled it throughout his program. You remember Jesse Williams, defensive tackle from Brisbane, Australia, defensive tackle from Australia. And then obviously right here on the roster, James Burnap, Australian punter. Coach Saban doesn't care where you're from. He just wants to bring in the highest talent. And really, look, let's just say, Coach, let's just say Coach recruited just the state of Alabama. You're just going to let Georgia recruit internationally, recruit all over the world and suck in elite talent? No. This Justin Okoronkwo fella is going to be a pretty good football player, I believe. I think he's underrated, undervalued based on where he's from, based on being German, because it's hard to get on these scouting radars. Hard to be it's hard to really understand how good he is not playing in America. But come on, guys, Alabama fans, we got to be better than this. Who cares where they're from? If Coach Saban wants them, if Coach Saban says this fella is good enough to be playing at the University of Alabama, then aren't we all obligated to support them?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was kind of an unsettling response from a lot of the commenters right here on the BamaCentral Facebook pages, on the Twitter pages of after Justin Okoronkwo commits to the Crimson Tide. Now, look, am I more excited when a Tuscaloosa kid commits to Alabama? Yes, Wilkin Formby. I'm going to be very excited because I have that connection point. Because I know I watched Wilkin in high school. I talked to him after high school games. Yes, that connection point is stronger for me. But we don't care where they're from. When they come into Tuscaloosa, we hope for them to maximize their value, as Coach Saban says. We hope for them to go to class and graduate. We hope for them to get on the field and play at a high level and represent Alabama well. Yeah, I just wanted to address that as it kind of bothered me as I was seeing this. Why are people saying, why can't Coach Saban fill it with an American? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's not what really. It's not what God wants everybody to love everybody. So welcome to Alabama, Justin Okoronkwo. Looking forward to seeing you come to Alabama in 12 months, 12 or so. And hopefully we can get an interview with Justin Okoronkwo. What I would like to do, I've got several German friends, obviously, with a Mercedes connection right here in Tuscaloosa. If we can get Justin Okoronkwo on, this is a little prepare the audience. I'd love to have some of my friends record questions in German and have him answer in English and try to see what the translation's like and how that would go. I think that'd be really funny. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So that's what happened on Sunday. Alabama got 2 commitments into the 2024 class. Now Alabama's up to 12 commits in the 2024 class. The Alabama class is ranked 14th overall by 247. It's ranked a little higher by On3 Sports. On3 Sports, with their composite rankings, has them a little bit higher due to the fact that Alabama only has 12 commits. But the 12 commits that they have, I'm very excited about. I think Coach Saban has identified talent that will add to this class, will add to the program. Obviously, come on, as long as Coach Saban is in charge, we are going to be just fine in recruiting. So those 2 guys joined the class on Sunday, and Alabama actually. We'll keep it on the trend before we go over to Brandon Miller in Florida. Okay, Alabama is going to be looking to add one more player tonight. Alabama's looking to add an offensive lineman tonight, Casey Poe. Casey Poe is a 4-star offensive lineman from Lindell, Texas. Played, when I put on the film, he's at 6'4", 290. I put on the film, he is a tackle. Mostly. He played guard as well for the high school, but most of the film that I saw was at tackle, probably 70-30. Yeah, 75-25 playing tackle over guard. But this man, all right, one, you got to tune in tonight at 6 o'clock. To 6 o'clock, he's going to be committing, right? And so, obviously, you want to get him in. Coach Saban's identified him as one of the guys that you want to bring into the 2024 class. I think it's very important to hit on the offensive lineman because Georgia has been doing exactly that in this 2024 class. But Casey Poe, this is a little interesting to me. You're making a decision tonight. Cool, great. Do your thing, big man. But you've listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 schools. Like, all right. Usually, if you're down to a decision, then this is just me. But if I'm down to a decision, I've eliminated 3 or 4. I'm only down to my last 2. I'm down to my last 3. But no, Casey Poe still lets out that he's considering 7 schools tonight, and you'll be able to follow his commitment right here on BamaCentral.com. As soon as he commits to Alabama, as I expect, we'll have an article right up here on BamaCentral.com and on our socials as well. But Casey Poe, his finalists include Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Oklahoma, Clemson, and Texas Tech? Okay. Texas Tech. First, Casey Poe tweeting last week when he announced that he would be committing on Wednesday, July 12th. He said, "Hey, we may surprise some people, so tune in." Just some whispers. Look, you look at the On3, you look at the prediction rankings, a lot of people are betting Casey Poe picks Alabama. I'm betting Alabama is the pick for Casey Poe. But there's some whispers, there's some rumors, there's some talk, discussion that Texas Tech will be the choice tonight. Oh my gosh. How are you going to look at that list of 7? How are you going to look at that list of 7 schools and end up at Texas Tech?
I don't know. I don't see that happening tonight. But I want to just reaffirm the young man's words. He said that watch out, you may surprise some people this evening. So Casey Poe at 6 p.m. is looking to, or he's going to be making his commitment, and the Alabama fans will be watching out and hoping that he joins the class, giving Alabama its 13th commitment overall. And what would that be? Their third offensive lineman or second offensive lineman? Because you've already got Joseph Iannetta. That would be the second offensive lineman in the class. So big to get big to get Casey Poe involved. Especially, man, have you seen the mountains that Georgia has pulled in this 2024 class? 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", all over the place. Their offensive line is pretty much set for the 2024 class. Alabama got to get on it, got to boost up the trenches. Only 2 defensive linemen, and if Casey Poe commits tonight, it will be the second offensive lineman in the 2024 class. So what did I see when I watched the film on Casey Poe? Look, I saw, like I said, we already hit the size and weight, height and weight, 6'4", 290, nice size, nice weight. Looked like a good size high school player. His film was nice. His film was cool. He plays with good pad level, and you love that for offensive linemen. That's one of the most difficult things for offensive linemen to translate into college football and then obviously into the NFL. When you're in high school, your pad level doesn't necessarily have to be that great because you are just bigger and stronger than a lot of your competition. But Casey Poe fired off the football at great pad level consistently in his highlight tapes. Drove off the football, real good run blocker. Now, part of that is to do with competition. As you're playing, you're obviously not all going to be, not everybody can match up to 6'4", 290 at the high school level. I definitely could not when I was in high school, so I was getting pushed 50 yards down the field like many opponents in the Casey Poe highlight film. I say, okay, but you do see the attitude, you see the edge, you see the drive, you see nice hips. He's able to stay low and use the power that's in his legs to, drive people off the football. So Casey Poe, I'd love to see you come to Alabama. You listed as the number 4 interior offensive lineman. Now he's listed as an interior offensive lineman, but he did play a lot of tackle in his high school film. Now, granted, you come to college, things change, so he could probably play anywhere on the offensive line outside of center. Listed as the number 19th overall recruit in the state of Texas. And Steve Wiltfong and many others already predicting that Casey Poe will join the Alabama 2024 recruiting class tonight at 6 p.m. So keep it up with BamaCentral.com. We will be putting out an article as soon as he puts on the Alabama hat or as soon as he says roll tide. We'll be ready, dropping an article with Alabama's 13th commitment. All right. That's how I'm feeling about recruiting for the moment. Let's see. What else do I have on my spreadsheet today?
It's the most commonly used name on earth. Read a book for one.
All right. We've hit Brandon. No, we've hit Zabien Brown, Justin Okoronkwo. We hit Casey Poe. Want to tell everybody that we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. You guys can watch us. Leave a comment on leave a comment, query, and complaint. Let's go to Brandon Miller. Yeah, let's go to Brandon Miller. Last night, Brandon Miller puts on an absolute spectacle at Summer League. Yes, they still lost to the Portland Trail Blazers, but Brandon Miller put on his best game of Summer League, by far and away. He scores 26 points. He goes 8 for 15 shooting, 50% from the three-point line, 100% from the free throw line. Ended up with 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Only 1 turnover. Yes, he still had the 5 personal fouls, but his best game by far in NBA Summer League. Now, of course, we already hit. The Trailblazers beat them 97-93. So the Hornets are 0-3 in Summer League so far. And Brandon, what did he show last night? He showed aggressiveness. He showed assertiveness. And here we go. Maybe you want to give a guy 3 games to show what he's going to be, especially, look, you back it up. He spent no time practicing with these Charlotte Hornet players. He gets drafted late June. He spends a week, and then he's playing Summer League. Give the young man some time to get comfortable on a new team, get comfortable on a new roster. Remember, the first time I saw Brandon Miller in person was in a summer scrimmage at Alabama. He looked amazing, but it was the first time I'd seen him The difference was he had been working with the Alabama team for weeks ahead of time. Like, give the guy a little bit of runway to ramp up and fly. So last night, put it on great display, attacking the basket really ferociously. Had a great alley-oop from Nick Smith Jr. And really, I think, is starting to show what kind of real player he can be in the NBA. Now, you look at the rest of the Summer League guys. Look, I know the Charlotte Hornet fans were all booing Brandon Miller because they wanted Scoot Henderson. What's Scoot Henderson doing? He's hurt. He lasts like one game of Summer League. Victor Wembanyama, I think Victor's going to be a real good player. I do. What is it? One of the Thompson brothers already hurt as well. Brandon Miller, it really just depends on Victor's health over the course of time. But Brandon really may make himself the best player in this draft class. And he started to show it last night, confidently moving the basketball around, confidently attacking the basket. He had a huge dunk. And then he missed a dunk attempt, got fouled. Nate Oates on hand watching Brandon Miller, basically just impressed with the young man. I think the Charlotte fans are going to love him once they get used to him, once they really embrace him and see him get comfortable. Look, once he's playing with LaMelo Ball, like we said before, the court will open up and the spacing will open up. And I think Brandon's going to be able to show how deadly and how strong he really, really is. I'm sitting here watching the 90-second highlights of Brandon over and over and over again. Just took it to the rack from last night and jammed it. He's going to be a special player, guys. Give the man some time. Don't jump on his back for 2 bad Summer League games. I mean, come on. Summer League is not real. It's literally just practice. Just practice. And last night, Brandon Miller having a good practice with his Charlotte Hornets teammates. Yes, they lost. Interestingly enough, Brandon's 26 points was not the team high. Nick Smith Jr. was the team high with 33 points. Ended up 33 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for Nick Smith Jr. Oh, man. How much fun would it have been? How much fun would it have been to have Nick Smith Jr. and Brandon Miller both here in Tuscaloosa? Boo on you, Walton Chicken and Tyson Chicken, or Walton Company, preventing that from happening last year. Nick Smith Jr. going to Arkansas on a sweet NIL deal instead of coming to the University of Alabama. That would have. Oh my gosh, that team would have been absolutely nasty with both Brandon and Nick Smith Jr. So where are we at next? Like I said, slow week, slow time in sports. We're going to get to SEC Media Days next week. We'll be happy to cover all things SEC Media Days right here on BamaCentral.com. Remember, next Wednesday, seven days away from Alabama Day at SEC Media Days up there in Nashville. You're going to have our guys, Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and J.C. Latham up there. We talked about those 3 guys yesterday on the program. If you missed any of that, you can look up any of the programs on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. And of course, you can watch them on playback on the BamaCentral.com YouTube channel. Just type in the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Anywhere that you get your podcast, you can check out any of those conversations. So that's really where you're at going into next. Let's talk about a non-Alabama topic that's sort of an Alabama topic, still in the recruiting frame. Look, we hit on 3 Sports at the very beginning of the program, re-ranking its prospects, as they always do. Every recruiting service re-ranks prospects. You get the high school film in, you analyze it, you re-rank prospects, you go see the prospects at summer camps, you go see the prospects at showcase events, and then you re-rank them. And ultimately, as Julian Sayin said on Monday, the rankings don't matter. The rankings do not matter. Julian Sayin still got the Alabama offer before he was given the number 1 overall quarterback ranking in the class. It doesn't matter. The recruiting services are not determining who's getting scholarships and who's good and who's bad. And so Florida, okay, let's get into Florida. The Florida fans saw the re-rankings and got onto On3 Sports' case, got onto Shannon Terry, got onto really everybody who's involved with On3 Sports. And I ask, what? Why? Because I type in On3 Sports Florida Gators commits, and I see number 3 overall recruiting class. This is what you guys are complaining about? A top 3 overall recruiting class because some of your players got knocked down a couple of positions? Like, look, you still got DJ Lagway as a 5-star player. You still got Xavier Filsame as a 5-star prospect. You've got
a bunch of 4 stars in the class. You're going to tell me that you're going to complain and cry bias over being ranked the 3rd overall recruiting class in the nation? I'm sorry. You don't make any sense. You don't make any sense. Granted, I know that recruiting rankings are subjective, and I understand that. Scouts, look, I can see a player and say, oh, that's number 1, and the next player says, oh, that's number 4. Look, opinions vary, and that's fair. Goodness gracious, but there's no bias against the University of Florida. These recruiting services are really, I believe, trying to rank these guys the best. They want you to go back to their classes 4 and 5 and 6 years down the line, and they want to say, hey, we got it right. Now, granted, you're not going to know until 3, 4, 5 years down the line how good these classes really are. We say that every single year. So, golly, don't worry if your guy got knocked down a couple of slots, positional slots. Florida, it ain't personal. On3 Sports is not coming after you. Why would they alienate one of their biggest markets? Look, everybody knows how hungry Gainesville is. Everybody knows how hungry really all the SEC fan bases are. Florida being among the top fan bases in the league. Ain't better than Alabama. But look, it's absurd for a recruiting service or any company to alienate a big portion of their target audience. It is. So for the Florida fans getting in there, getting their panties in a bunch over recruiting rankings, I find it laughable. I find it upsetting. I find it quite just confusing, really, as Shannon said. I mean, look, On3 Sports is still relatively new. Maybe 2 years in, 3 years in, somewhere right there. They're about 3 years in, so they're still growing their brand, trying to, I mean, obviously they've hired a bunch of credible writers, bunch of credible people. Like, they're a good organization. They're not trying to tank their organization by, hey, we don't like Florida. Hey, we don't like Billy Napier. Hey, these recruits are mean to us or something. It's absurd. It's laughable. I think it's just normal to have re-rankings and to have a shuffle. Sure, some of Alabama's players fell. Some of them rose. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think these On3 Sports guys are doing their best to rank these guys as accurately as possible, and they're only operating off the information that they have. When they get new information, when they get more information, they're able to reassess, take that into consideration, and say, hey, maybe I need to move this guy up a slot or two or down a slot or two. It happens. It's not personal, Florida fans. Now, second thing for a fan base, Georgia, golly. And this is, I mean, look, Mom and Dad, love you guys. I come from a University of Georgia household in a large way, but the Georgia fans are driving me absolutely nuts right now because we're disrespected. Nobody believes in us. Dude, that is the most hooey conversation in the world. That is the most foolish conversation in the world. Nobody believes in us. Kirk Herbstreit's picking Alabama. Reese Davis is picking Michigan. Georgia, just because you're not picked for the national championship or to win the national championship by every pundit in the world doesn't mean you're disrespected. I think everybody in the world who watches college football is expecting Georgia to be a college football playoff team. I'm going to say it. They're a college football playoff team right now. Boom. Even without, or depends on who, even with a question mark at quarterback, Carson Beck can probably take them into the college football playoff. You look at their schedule is baby butt soft. It's very easy. It will be very surprising for them not to be in the SEC championship. I will be shocked. So, yeah, no one's disrespecting the Dogs by choosing Alabama or choosing Ohio State or choosing Michigan, choosing another program as their national championship. Georgia, you've won 2 national championships in a row. We respect you. You have the respect of college football. You have the attention of Tuscaloosa. You have the respect of literally everyone who plays this game. They know that Georgia is the current kings. You fans getting your panties in a wad, just driving me nuts, talking about disrespect. No one's disrespecting Georgia. No one. That's the most foolish thing in the world. Now Kirby is probably going to be able to mastermind his way into convincing his Dogs that they're disrespected. And Kirby will do that. Hey, we're going to hunt. They don't believe in you, X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Will that line of thinking last a third consecutive year? Are the Dogs still hungry in that fashion? I don't know, but I think the disrespect line is laughable because no one's disrespecting the Dogs. Look, Georgia, you're a top 3 football team in the country. You might be number 1. You may be number 1. Just because you're not getting picked by everyone doesn't mean you're disrespected, Georgia. So get over yourselves. Get used to life on the top. This is what happens when you're at the top. People take shots at you. It's not a personal thing. It's ridiculous. I'm seeing it all over the social medias that Georgia is being disrespected. Nobody's giving Georgia a chance. Nobody's get. No, look. You probably have the best player in college football in Brock Bowers coming in next year. Brock Bowers is going to be an absolute animal. He's going to be a freak of nature. Laughable that these Georgia Dogs have taken this summer and turned it into we are disrespected. No one believes in Georgia. Absolutely laughable in that fashion. So those are my thoughts on the day. We got some recruiting news. We got a little bit of basketball news. We're still kind of meandering our way through the college football all season. What are we at? 450-something days away now from Alabama kicking it off against MTSU, and we cannot wait to be in there at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We'll have a whole crew for BamaCentral.com. We'll remind you next week we are going up to SEC Media Days in Nashville. Stay tuned to BamaCentral.com for all of our coverage. Katie Wyndham, Austin Hannon, myself, really everybody getting all in on SEC Media Days next week. What are we going to do the rest of the week on this show? I don't know about Friday, but I know about Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm going to continue our recruiting series. Cannot wait. Tomorrow we'll talk to our fourth commit in the Alabama 2024 class, Mr. Joseph Iannetta, our first offensive lineman. Joseph Iannetta will join me tomorrow to talk about his recruitment. We'll get to know him a little bit, try to have a little fun, trying to crack these recruits open a little bit, get a good story, get to know who these guys are on a personal level, but obviously we want to know about Joseph Iannetta as a football player as well. So Joseph Iannetta will be my guest tomorrow. A 3-star recruit out of Calvary Christian High School in Clearwater, Florida, committed to Alabama last June. So really looking forward to catching up with Joseph Iannetta, seeing what his plans are for his senior year and kind of what's going on with his recruitment, and just getting to know him as a person, what his interests are, what makes him tick, and what made him choose the University of Alabama. So Joseph Iannetta will be on tomorrow. We really appreciate him lining up and communicating with us to get set up. You guys can join in anytime on the comments, or leave us a comment on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram at Joe Gaither 6. You can listen to the shows on replay on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We appreciate all those platforms. We appreciate Chris Walsh putting us on each and every day. You can follow him, my boss, at Writing Walsh on the Twitter machine. Follow at BamaCentral on the Twitter machine for all your news and notes. Reminder again, we'll have the recruitment of Casey Poe at 6 p.m. tonight if he's going to commit to Alabama. I think everybody is believing that he will. Once he actually does put on the Alabama hat, we will have that right there on BamaCentral.com. And we're going to talk to Joseph Iannetta tomorrow. So we'll continue the recruiting series with Mr. Joseph Iannetta. That's going to do it for me on the Joe Gaither Show today. I'm going to have a fun Wednesday. I hope you guys are as well. Stay warm. Enjoy the summer. Hang on. The offseason's almost done. The Major League Baseball break is going to come to an end. We'll get back into the sports. We're 2 weeks away from NFL training camp getting started, so that means we're like 3 weeks away from college football training camp started. It's right here on the precipice. Hang out with us. Tell a friend about the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central as we get into the new season. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. This was another edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.